Hey there, I'm Rob. Today we're peeling back the label and sipping through the story behind Jefferson's blend of straight bourbons. This bottle claims to be very small batch, but what does that really mean? Welcome to Whiskey, Toasted and Finished, where proof has no limit and neither does curiosity. As you saw in my first review, I like to start with a section entitled Legacy and Lore, which gives you a sense for the story behind the brand. And there's quite a bit to this story. Let's start with what I think is the most notable aspect of the legacy for this brand. Before Jefferson's was a brand, it was the epitome of legacy. A legacy that began with a grandmother who got busted for bootlegging in 1799. Yes, that's right, but more on that in a moment. Jefferson's Bourbon was founded in 1997 by Trey Zeller and his father Chet, a bourbon historian with deep Kentucky roots. Their family's whiskey lineage stretches back 8 generations, which includes the grandmother being arrested in 1799 for production and sales of spirituous liquors. That rebellious streak is baked into the brand's DNA. The name Jeffersons pays homage to Thomas Jefferson, not as a distiller, but as a thinker, innovator, and a man of refined taste. While Jefferson himself preferred wine and avoided ardent spirits, he regularly purchased whiskey for his workers. That tension between refinement and rebellion is part of the brand's charm and is in their soul. In 2015, Castle Brands acquired a stake in Kentucky Artisan Distillery, which now supplies about 25% of the juice in this bottle. That shift marks a turning point from bottler to partial producer and adds another layer to this story. Now, let's get into the particulars. This bottle doesn't shout. It's bottled and proofed down to a modest 82.3 proof, making it one of the gentler sips on my shelf. Some may see this as a drawback, but others will view this as an invitation to slow down and listen. It's the kind of bourbon that seeks to reward reflection and not bravado. It's a blend of 4 Kentucky straight bourbons of varying ages, with one blend making up at least 55% of the total. While the mash bill isn't officially disclosed, it's believed to be around 60% corn, 30% rye, and 10% malted barley. The barrels are lightly charred, allowing softer secondary flavors to emerge. The price at my local Total Wine is $25.99, which puts it into a space with other bourbons like Benchmark, Wild Turkey, and Buffalo Trace. The nose opens up with the usual suspects of vanilla and caramel and a touch of toasted oak, but they arrive like echoes rather than introductions. There's a faint floral note and a hint of stone fruit, maybe a plum or even a peach, but nothing leaps from the glass. It's quiet, polite, almost too polite. It's the kind of nose that doesn't interrupt, it waits for you to lean in, and even then, it doesn't say much. There's no bold spice, no rich fruit, no layered complexity. It's approachable, yes, but also underwhelming, like a handshake that doesn't quite grip. It sets the stage for a pour that's less about fireworks. With that, let's get into the palate. The first sip arrives with a hint of promise. Vanilla and caramel step forward like familiar characters in a well-worn story. There's a touch of cherry candy and brown sugar, but it feels like a sketch rather than a painting. The flavors are present, but they don't stretch or evolve. Instead, they hover thin and fleeting, like a melody missing its harmony. Mid-palate, the structure struggles to assert itself. A whisper of toasted oak and cinnamon tries to add depth, but the low proof of 82.3 leaves the sip feeling diluted and almost watery. It's as if the bourbon is holding back, afraid to commit to boldness and complexity. The mouthfeel is light, some might say buttery, but others might call it hollow. There's no crescendo, no tension, no moment that makes you pause and say, wow. Some folks say this is forgettable. Others call it a sleeper hit. I say, let's sip and decide. If you've sampled this, please drop a comment below. The finish on Jefferson's very small batch is like a story that ends mid-sentence. There's a soft sweetness, maybe vanilla, maybe overripe fruit, but it vanishes almost as soon as it arrives. A whisper of oak tries to linger, but it's more of a suggestion than substance. No warmth, no echo, just it's gone. It's the kind of finish that makes you check your glass to see if you missed something. Turns out you didn't. It never had much to say in the first place. I kept waiting for the finish to show, and it didn't. Maybe it's still aging in a parallel universe. If you found something I missed, I'm all ears and all palate. Leave a comment below. Here are my overall impressions. Jefferson's is where innovation meets tradition. The brand has always danced on the edge of convention, known for experimentation. From their Ocean Aged at Sea series to experimental cask finishes, they've pushed boundaries while staying rooted in Kentucky bourbon tradition. In this offering, Jefferson's has aimed for simplicity. Specifically, the very small batch is their gateway bottle, accessible, understated, and quietly complex. This isn't a pour that demands attention. It asks for it gently, and sometimes that's exactly what we need. Let me take a moment to reflect on my own journey. When I started collecting whiskey and bourbon, I thought small batch meant magic. Now, I have come to understand it's really marketing. But sometimes the magic sneaks in anyways. Now, let's get into my WTF ratings. That will tell us if the magic has seeped in or if this is more about marketing. So here are my WTF ratings. I'm going to use the classic school grading system. Therefore, I'll be giving a grade ranging from A through F. I'll start with some particulars and then rate the nose, palate, finish, value, and availability. Then give an overall rating. So, here goes. Is it toasted? Yes. Jefferson's very small batch whiskey is known to have a toasted oak character. Is it finished? No. It's a blend of straight bourbons. Would I share it with a friend? Yes, so long as the friend was beginning their whiskey and bourbon journey. I would not go with this one if my friend was an aficionado of fine whiskeys and bourbons. Will I reach for this over my favorites? No. As I shared earlier, I'd reach for other brands over this one. Will I replace it when it's empty? No, I sure won't. Under the nose. It's light and simple, but lacks depth. I give it a D. Onto the palate. It is sweet and approachable, but thin and fleeting. I give it a D. For the finish, it's really short and forgettable, with no linger or warmth. I give it a D. For value, it's priced between $25 and $30. I give it a B for value, as you're not likely to feel robbed if you don't like it. For availability, I give it an A, as it's widely distributed and very easy to find. To that end, it's a solid entry point for beginners. My overall rating is a D. Well, there you have it. Another review and rating in the books. Please let me know in the comments if you've tried Jefferson's very small batch and what did you think of it? Also, if you enjoyed this review, hit that like and subscribe button for more whiskey journeys here on Whiskey, Toasted, and Finished, where proof has no boundaries and neither does curiosity. Thank you for watching and see you on another episode of WTF.